Good day, welcome. This is your Daily Med with Lady V. Grace and peace be multiplied. Today we are looking at Psalm 77, verse 16 through verse 20. We will see where the psalm writer begins. And he was in a state of sighing in verse 1 through verse 6 of Psalm 77. Then we see him sinking in despair in verse 7 through verse 10. But when he got to verse 11 through 15, we saw the transition where he began to sink. And by the time we get to verse 16 through 20, which is the close of the psalm, we see the psalm writer soaring. Here the psalmist ceases his dejected self-occupation and becomes occupied with God. When he did, his despondency vanished. This is also the cure for our misery and despair. When we turn our eyes from what is happening to us in the present and look towards God, not be occupied with our present situation, whatever it may be, but when we are occupied with the things that God did before, when we remember them. So the psalm writer begin to fill his mind with these fivefold occupation with God. One, he says, I will remember the years of God's blessings. Then he says, I will remember his wonders of old, the things that he has done. He says, I will remember his works. I will meditate also on all his wonderful works. Then he says, I will talk about them and I will give God praise for his doings. So now he's at a stage where he's giving God thanks for his doings. Psalm 77 verse 16 through verse 20. It says, God, the water saw you and became afraid. The deep water shook with fear. The thick clouds dropped their water. Thunder roared in the sky above. Your arrows of lightning flashed through the clouds. There were loud claps of thunder. Lightning lit up the world. The earth shook and trembled. You walked through the water and crossed the deep sea, but you left no footprints. You led your people like sheep, using Moses and Aaron to guide them. So in these final few verses of Psalm 77, we see it refers to the miraculous parting of the Red Sea. This great event is mentioned many times in the Old Testament. In Exodus 14:21 and in Exodus also 22, Joshua 24 verse 6, Nehemiah 9 verse 9, Psalm 74 verse 13, also Psalm 136 13 through 15. So the story of this incredible miracle was handed down from generation to generation, continually reminding the Israelites of God's power, reminding them of God's protection, reminding them of God's love. God himself made an highway through the sea. It was he who opened a path so that his people could cross over on dry land. No one, the scripture says, saw his footprints, as it is so often the case. There were abundant evidences of his presence and power, though he himself was not seen. He was concealed in the shadows. This psalm closes on a peaceful note. The shepherd God leading Israel through the wilderness to Canaan in the care of Moses and Aaron. At the beginning of this psalm, the psalm writer Asaph was a likely prospect for a psychiatric clinic. At the end, he is calm and he is serene. So the psalm is an illustration of the well-known saying, when we are occupied with ourselves, it brings distress. When we are occupied with others, it brings discouragement. But when our minds are occupied with Christ, it brings delight. So we see when the psalm writer let his mind become occupied with that which God had done for him and for his people, and in remembering the goodness of God, now it brings delight. Now he is soaring. Now he is singing. Now he is giving God praise for that which God had done. So it is with us today. Sometimes we feel dejected. Sometimes we have fear. Sometimes we are in despair. But let us be encouraged by remembering the wonderful things that God has done before. And if he did it before, let us rest assured that he will do it again. If he did it for the children of Israel, rest assured that we are his children and he will do miraculous things for us also. God bless you. Thank you again for watching. Please like, please comment, also share, and of course please subscribe. It is free. And don't forget to continue to visit my YouTube channel, Daily Med with Lady